Okay, hi, I've been asked to do this interview for Music for Charity, and so I thought what I'd do is I've got on the laptop here just in front of me. I've got a bunch of questions, and I thought I'd run through this and see if I can make a good job of it. Music for Charity is a great idea. It's uh, it's been driven by a great fella called Carl Banks, and he kindly invited me to get involved, which was an absolute pleasure. I'm going to run through the questions that they have here for me. Um, Name Sam Stevens, and hometown is Nottingham in the UK. One of the questions here says instrument, and some may say it's my big gob, and guitar solos are probably my best instruments. Says the next question says, how long have you been a musician? Well, my dad was an accomplished jazz guitarist, and back in the day, he used to take me out to clubs, jazz clubs, and so on in Soho, like smoky jazz clubs and bars, from the age of about 9 or 10. And this will be around about when I started playing guitar. That's far too many years ago to mention. I seem to have always had music in my head. It's a beautiful I call it a beautiful madness, and it's been a constant companion for me and a solace. Again, going back to the idea of music with charity and music as an aid to mental health, something that can provide a respite and an answer for people. It certainly has in my life. It certainly has in difficult times in my life. The next question here says, what does music mean to you? Well, it feels kind of ethereal for me, otherworldly, not in sort of a spaceship, an aliens kind of way, but it more in a there's something else kind of way. There's something apart from our daily lives and the stresses and strains and the joys and everything that we have in daily life. There's something else, something which is far more, as I said, far more ethereal and far more otherworldly, because it's not of this current world, and it's not. I'm not. It's not something that's out there. It's not sort of like I was saying about aliens and spaceships. It's something that's in here, something that's in us personally. It goes hand in hand, something valuable, like a catalyst for some kinds of crazy spiritual connection to your emotions and your passions. Something that, for music, for me, that completely absorbs me in times of joy, in times of sadness, and again, is a solace for me. It's a spiritual connection for me. It takes me away from reality in a good way. It allows me a respite. It gets me a respite from challenges, and enables me to have a little bit of time just to breathe, which I think is really important. Every now and again, people just need a little bit of space, a little bit of time to breathe. I'm going to scroll down to the next question here. Let's have a look. So, what does the community Music for Charity mean to me? Well, like I said, it's been an honour being involved in something that directly, with absolutely no apologies whatsoever, puts music front and centre as a real aid to people and their mental health challenges. This kind of thing needs to be highlighted and explored much more. The healing powers and properties of music need to be developed and understood. Again, it's been a solace, and it's been audio medication for me many times, helping me through times of joy and sadness, difficulties, and some dark times at a number of points. Music's always been there for me. Music's always been there. And from personal experience, it's been a healing and a coping strategy for me. And I found that more and more. It wasn't obvious, first of all, but I always used to find myself running to music, to play the guitar, to get out of a stressful situation, even from the age of 9 and 10 years of age. And I've found that music is something that I go to, that gives me joy and respite. It's a bit like mindfulness that many of us may have heard of. Just thinking about yourself in the now, just giving yourself some kind of a break, some space from your troubles. And music for me is my mindfulness. It's my now, my in the moment, and it's always been there. It's always been there when I need it. It's been my friend, my companion, a way to celebrate, a way to connect with the world. It's always been there for me. And again, a respite until I feel just a little bit better, till I can feel a bit better and connect with the rest of the world and carry on as we do. It's given me space to think or not to think at times as well, because generally it's our overthinking of situations which lead us into troubles, and music is a fantastic way just to not think, have it wash over you, immerse yourself in either playing an instrument or listening to music if you don't play. It's a beautiful thing, and it's still my escapism, and music makes me feel as though I'm not alone. Music makes me feel as though I'm never alone. Doesn't matter what's happening, music makes me feel that I'm not alone. The next question here, I do tend to ramble, so I'm going to apologise. Do you have any experience with mental health? My feeling really is that every single person on the planet has challenges and difficulties with mental health. Obviously, some are more acute than others. Some people's problems are far more acute than others. In our formative years that we have, I was talking about being young and starting to play guitar and so on. Our formative years are generally crazy when we really don't have a clue what's going on, and we're trying to work out our world and our place in the world, and this sometimes becomes difficult. Early adopted insecurities and anxieties and so on, they effects from outside events and influences, they affect us in ways that we don't quite understand, and these early influences and early challenges sometimes give us lifelong difficulties that we struggle to cope with and we struggle to understand. And so yes, I've had numbers of incidents and episodes, or whatever you want to refer to them as. But it's always been not just the love of my family, who I adore and have been very, very good to me, but it's also music as a constant, has been there and has assisted me, again, giving me just a little bit of a respite. If anyone out there is listening to this, if you've not all fallen to sleep quite yet, just to give yourself a little bit of a space, to give yourself 30 seconds, or to give yourself a minute. And when you give yourself a minute, you realise you can give yourself a minute. You can give yourself another 30 seconds. You can give yourself another minute, which makes 2. And if you can give yourself a respite for a very short period of time, just like 2 minutes, it's not such a leap to consider that you really can and will get through whatever you're going through if you just give yourself a little bit of a respite. And that's what music does for me. So it's always been there when I've needed it as well. Music's always been there when I've needed it. It's not a matter of having to phone it up and see if it's busy or not. It's always been there, whether it's humming, listening to the radio, something on TV, whether it's picking up the guitar and playing, or with my generally sunny disposition, just singing something as you're in the car, or whistling, or whatever it may be. It's all part of that beautiful music compendium that we know and love, and some of us rely on. And it's always there. It's something to rely on, and it's always there. I'm just reading through the next question here. I think I've covered. One thing I would say is, talking about mindfulness, is I've worked for some time with children and young adults who've had what they call communication challenges. They call the phrase used is special needs, which I think is a horrible phrase, really. So I've worked with a number of kids that have had challenges, and you will always find that music brings them out of themselves. There is a great phrase from days of literature, which say that music soothes the savage beast. I'm trying to remember the actual phrase, might be useful, but it tends to, in that sense, give all of us, whether we've got communication challenges or not, give us the respite we need, which is what I've been talking about. As well, music is not just for us as individuals to help us in our individual isolated coping strategies. Music, you'll find, enables you to share great times, to share dancing, to share, I've heard this track and it's fantastic, to share going to gigs, to share experiences, music experiences together. And this can be a really cathartic, a really beautiful experience, is just embracing the fact that, or knowing the fact that somebody else shares your passion for a certain type of music is a really good thing. I had it when I was young. My friend Brian and I, we used to grab hold of the latest Bowie album or Roxy Music or whatever it was, and as soon as it was out of the record shops, it wasn't like it is now, being able to download stuff. As soon as it was released in the record shops, we used to run down, pick up our vinyl album, and tear off to Brian's house to stick it on the stereo, the record player that he had, and we would sit there for hours, if not days, looking at the latest album, reading the lyrics off of the album covers and so on. And to a certain extent, people still do that. I've got a daughter, she's now 18. She certainly does that with her friends, which is a beautiful, wonderful thing. The social side of music is a wonderful thing to see, to experience as an individual, or to see other people enjoying. And as a musician who plays on stage and entertains the crowd, as a minstrel, a current day minstrel, it's great to see people enjoying what you do. It's great to see people enjoying your music and tapping their feet and jumping along and singing along. It's a really beautiful, important thing. It's a beautiful, important part of my life. I would say that one of the main challenges people face with mental health and issues that surround mental health, anything from mild sadness right through to deep depression, one thing that people struggle with is loneliness and isolation. As I've said, even in my most difficult times, even in my darkest times, when I felt as though there was nobody there, nobody cared, whatever it may have been, these have been some dark times. Music was always there. So if anybody's listening to this, anybody's going through a challenge, put some music on. Put some music on. Give yourself 30 seconds. Give yourself a minute. Then give yourself one more minute. and then put some more music on, and then share it with somebody. It works. It really does work. So here's a great question. I'm just scrolling down here now. Do I believe, not that anybody is interested in my opinion too much, do I believe that music for charity can help those that suffer? And how? Well, of course. People generally don't realise the healing spiritual and social properties and the benefits of music. They really don't. It is astounding that a mixture of sounds and melodies and rhythms and instruments can give someone that feels alone, can give them a friend, a companion, someone to be with, a respite, a catalyst to feeling better, a something that's a pivotal point of them feeling better and getting over the challenges they might have. Music is real. Whilst it's sound waves or vibrations or whatever, it's actually real and it's palpable and it's cathartic. It really does make a change to people on a spiritual level. It's important. And I think also going back to work with young kids and so on, to my time when working with young kids and music experiences and so on, it really should be investigated how early adopted music can help the confidence and help the connection that some people have from an early age, which can assist people and be the counterbalance to the times when they do have real challenges. From an early age, it can be escapism, it can be excitement, it can be taking you to another world, another dimension, in a joyous way, not just when you have challenges, not just when you're upset and down. And for Music for Charity to have identified how important this is and to raise money for mental health through music, I think it's most definitively what we need. If there are government programs that aren't doing this, and there may be, but I don't know about them, we need guys like Carl Banks. We need people like the musicians that are getting involved in this album. We need to highlight the fact that music can heal, does heal, and is healing constantly. I think also that Music for Charity is a great way of an individual that is going through challenges themselves, a musician or somebody who's interested in music, or somebody who's never heard music before but would like to. A way for them to feel part of a community. Music really is an international, multi-dimensional, multi-faith language. It crosses all boundaries, all physical boundaries and borders, but also all emotional boundaries and borders, all genres, all faiths and religions, whatever sex you are, whatever connections you have to this world. It crosses everything. And if it crosses everything, then it unites us. Music unites us as well. So as an individual, and with Music for Charity in mind, if there is a charity focused on music that can unite us, that can bring us together, how beautiful is that? How important is that? So, can Music for Charity help people that suffer? Of course they can. Let's get more and more people involved. Let's get musicians like myself, people like Carl Banks involved, and let's roll this out. Let's get more and more people to realise that with music, you're not alone. With music, you're never alone. Thanks for listening. I've been Sam.